What is up and good morning, everyone. It is 2 a.m. here in Sydney, Australia, and I am pumped. I am wide awake. I am motivated. I have my morning coffee. I'm ready to go. And I also have a very, very amazing special guest joining me tonight. Mr. Levi Cooper, formerly known as Tucker Knight in WWE, part of Heavy Machinery. But before I bring Levi out, I just want to take a quick pause for the cause to thank some of those amazing sponsors. First up is the Wrestling Universe. Now, guys, let me tell you about the Wrestling Universe. These guys are your one-stop shop for all your wrestling merchandise. They have all kinds of WWE, TNA, UFC, WCW, ECW, and AEW action figures, even action figures from the past and present. They carry t-shirts, wrestling cards, autographed 8x10s, masks, replica belts, and much, much more. They also do in-store signings with some of the biggest names in the wrestling world. So if you're in Queens, New York, go and check out some of their amazing signings. All of their autographed items come with a certificate of authenticity. And if you're like me and you don't live in Queens, New York, or you don't even live in the United States, they ship internationally. So you can get any type of wrestling merchandise you need shipped straight to your door. So make sure you check out thewrestlinguniverse.com for all of your wrestling needs. Next up is healthvape.com. Now, HealthVape offer a healthy vaping alternative. Now, guys, there is no nicotine, no artificial or nasty chemicals inside any health vape product, and they are vitamin infused. Guys, look, I'm an ex-cigarette smoker. I'm now a vape person thing. And I want to transition off my vape, and this is what I'm going to be using to transition off that to having nothing. So, guys, stay tuned, but check out healthvape.com. Use promo code MWAPOD to get a 10% discount off your final purchase. Now, guys, last but not least is sleeps.com. Now, if you're an athlete or somebody you know is an athlete, you need to check out sleeves.com. They have arm sleeves. They have compression pants, compression shorts, socks. They even got dirty boxes, guys. And I've got to say, I'm wearing a pair of these dirty boxes now. And my God, they are the most comfortable boxes in my collection. I ain't going to show you guys because that's just weird. And I don't want to get banned on Twitch and YouTube. But trust me, guys, they're amazing. Go and check out those guys. But guys, while I'm giving some plugs out, we have to pay some respect and pay some plugs to some of the other shows here on the MWA Podcast Network. Tomorrow morning, well, in a few hours, actually at 10 a.m. Australian time, which is 8 p.m. Friday, United States Eastern time, tune in to Killing the Business with former ECW original The Kingpin, Angel motherfucking Medina. And you know what Angel's like, guys. We can't hold him back. His mouth just opens up and it just spews out stuff. We can't stop him or contain him. So it makes for an entertaining watch and listen, guys. So make sure you check out Killing the Business. But also make sure every Thursday night at 7 p.m. USA Eastern time, which is Friday, 9 a.m., check out Get Funked with former WCW and TNA star Alan Kiwi Funk. He's had on some amazing guests from back in the WCW days. Makes me relive my childhood a little bit, to be honest. So, guys, make sure you check out that show. And then still, guys, we got another show for you every Sunday night at 9 p.m. It is Knights of the Gimmick Table with the Dead Presidents, Boogaloo, and Lowrider. So make sure you check out their show as well, guys, because you will not be disappointed. But, guys, I can see everyone is really excited. It is now time for me to bring in my guest, Levi Cooper. Levi, thank you so much, man. Yes, it's a pleasure to have you on the show, man. Thank you so much for giving up your time on this big few months with a few things changing. How's being adapting to the other side of working for WWE and trying to look at new ventures been going for you?
Yeah, man. I mean, obviously nobody likes getting released or getting fired. It's sort of a litany of emotions that kind of go along with it. Probably my last few months, 5-6 months in WWE weren't the most positive for my career, and I wasn't in necessarily the best headspace at the time. So having my daughter just turned 3 less than a month ago, so I've had months to spend with my family and just be a dad and be a husband and trying to take every minute of that for the blessing that it is, and and really just enjoy my family, and get my body and my mind, healthy and back in a super positive, place so that I'm ready to, continue moving forward. So it's kind of what I've been doing. My wife is an educator, and she just recently got a big promotion, and our second child's due at the end of September. So, the back half of this year, I'm going to spend a lot of time at home, just being a dad, and then 2022 is when I'll really hit the ground, running again, wrestling wise. Not that I'm going to do nothing this year, but that's kind of, at least for now, going forward through the end of the year. I really want that. I want the opportunity to be home with my newborn child and just experience that, every single day, for the first few months, because I feel like I missed some of that the first time around. So. I mean, those have kind of been, what I've been working on, my body. I'm down 85 pounds from when heaviest of my, WWE run, and have really been focusing on, just my, overall self-care in general, mental and physical health. And, it's been really good, man. It's been,
especially having kids so young. I've got 3 kids myself. I've got a newborn in one of them as well, and the young stages, that's the time you don't get back, man. Definitely. Yep. I can understand wanting to sort of spend that time close with them, especially at this age, and the new baby coming as well. Do you know if you're having a boy or a girl?
I don't know yet. Yeah, we found out the first one, but my wife's actually going to do the birth at home, and she wants me to catch the baby, right? And I was like, well, the only way I'm doing that is if we don't find out. And so that way, when I catch the baby, like, I look and I know, and I find out right then and there. Like, so that's what we're going for this time around, and I feel like it has the potential to be the most exhilarating day of my life.
Our firstborn was a surprise, and it is one of the most, like, the surprise as opposed to when is a completely different emotion, man. I can definitely say go do the surprise. It's definitely worth it.
Yeah, I'm excited for it, man. It's going to be wild. I mean, it's nerve-wracking. I mean, she's in the 3rd trimester now, so she's big, and it's like, baby's coming, it's just like,
we just had our 3rd about 2 months ago, man. So it's
congrats, man. That's awesome.
It's an amazing time, man. But you mentioned that your headspace in WWE in the last few months there was not in the best place. I recall watching you and Otis do the split U-turn on him, and honestly, when I saw that, I was like, I don't know if fans are ready for this split, man. But also I thought, okay, so where is this going to go? What sort of character are we going to see from Tucker now that he's turned heel? I mean, I was excited for that. I was excited to see, like, okay, what character can you build with a guy who is a big dude, can go in the ring, has good on the mic. Let's go. And then it sort of just slowly fizzled.
Yeah. I mean, there was, I don't like, I think from what I've gleaned that there was that when they first wanted us to split, that I was going to potentially go to Raw and do Raw Underground, and that was going to be kind of maybe like a vessel for me to pull the curtain back a little bit and get back to sort of my amateur roots, right, and kind of retie those things back together. I don't know exactly, like I said, I don't know. I don't feel like I was ever really given the truth. I got some answers, but I feel like some of those answers were lip service, certainly. The actual split itself, the way that it happened, we moved to different brands about 3 weeks before. So we did the Talking Smack segment, and so I'm like, okay, well, I think we're split, but I don't know, because we're on separate brands, but we haven't really done anything. And then I'm going back to his brand, and he's coming to mine, because at the time we still hadn't finished, the court scene, right? The courtroom thing to determine if he was going to have to wrestle a match or not. And then, so the actual weekend of the split, I'm on Raw. So I think the week before I didn't go to SmackDown. Then on Thursday, I get a text in the morning, hey, we need you to leave tonight and come for SmackDown, So, okay. And then they have an app, an in-house app that tells you when you're booked. And so even when I left, even on Friday and Saturday, I didn't have a dot on Sunday. I wasn't booked for the pay-per-view, right? I had a dot for Monday. So I come, I do the show. We do the El Gran Gordo thing on Friday. Yeah. And I think I'm off for the weekend, So literally I'm driving to the golf course on Sunday to play golf in Florida, like at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And I get a text from one of the travel people like, hey, they need you at the arena. And I was like, well, all right, okay, I'm not going to be on time, you're supposed to be there by 2 o'clock. So
yeah,
leave the golf course, go back, get all my stuff, come to the arena. Probably don't find out until like 4:30. Get there at 3, maybe 4:30 or 5. I finally find out what we're doing. The pay-per-view goes on at 7. And so I didn't get the opportunity maybe to, ask all the proper questions that I wish I would have asked before that segment. But like I said, the timing of it was such that I personally feel like it was done in a way to sort of just like that I would do it and not ask a bunch of questions or not really because in retrospect, I shouldn't have done it. Right. It was like you said, it was too early. Didn't make any sense. Plus we didn't do anything afterwards. So, that's really my only regret that I have in my WWE run was I wish I just would have said no to that and taken whatever happened afterward, taking my lumps. But of course, you never really know. Right. And so I show up the next Monday and I wrestle on main event against Humberto Carrillo. And, then the next week, I think I wrestle Ricochet on Raw and it's like 90 seconds or something. And I go to Vince after that match. I walk into Gorilla and I just say, hey, anything you guys ask me to do, I'll always give you the best that I'm capable of giving. But I can do so much more than what I did tonight. And I hope that I get the opportunity to prove it to you. And I didn't, obviously, really, but that's
the thing. Like when they just had that happen, it was like, okay, to me, I thought Otis was really over as a face. You turning on him, you thought this is automatically going to give you uber monster style heat, and then like you said, it was just sort of did nothing with it, and it could have been something much bigger and could have made two massive superstars off it.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I said, I mean, I knew after that Monday, the Monday after, and I was wrestling on main event against Humberto that it's probably going to be good for me, right? We already just missed the opportunities. Like the day after I turned to my partner, we're not doing it. I pay attention. I see what goes around, I know what an impactful turn looks like and how that kind of, like you said, you like once you've missed the opportunity, you've missed the opportunity. We can't fucking rewind and go back and do it again. Like that's it. It's over. And so, yeah, I mean, I had pitched a few things afterwards, but and I mean, I don't want to sound like I'm making excuses, but the nature of the way that the turn happened and the timing of it was such that, that next Monday, or not the next Monday, but the day after, all I had was my heavy machinery gear, right? I didn't even have any other gear because how could I found out 2 hours
literally
before
like
we did the deal the night before. So, that's kind of why I say I wish I would have said no, because it was clearly obvious after the fact that there was no plans for me and that it was essentially just a way for them to, get the briefcase off Otis without having to have him lose it, basically. And I mean, they're the bosses and I got to do what they tell me to do. But I also, have to look out for my own career. And that's a mistake that, or a lesson that I will take with me forever about, okay, well, if we're going to do some kind of impactful thing, then, I need to make sure that I'm getting the answers that I need going forward. Say, okay, if we're going to do this thing, like what's happening the week, tomorrow, what's happening the next week, and how are we going to, move forward with it so that it's not just nothing, right? And I mean, it makes no sense. It's like, if you guys are going to fire me, just have him kick my ass up and down, the next couple weeks, just have him bury me and give me a concerto. I don't know, whatever. But like to have us just do nothing after 3 years of a partnership and what I felt like was a pretty decent turn, I mean, was it the greatest turn in history? No, but was it an impactful enough moment at one pay-per-view that I think it warranted at least a 4 or 5 week program, yeah, you're never going to convince me that we couldn't have gotten some legs out of a storyline of wrestling against each other. Two guys who genuinely love each other, who know each other a lot, like, and who both, you know, for better or worse, like we both want to be as good as we can be. You know, we have pride. We both want to be successful, and so, I mean, yeah, it was like I said, after the day after and sort of the week after, and realizing like, man, I'm kind of dead in the water here. Like, I'm gonna have to try to create something out of nothing. You know, I knew that the chances of that, particularly without fans being around, was just not great. You know, the odds of me getting any more traction in WWE was, you know, I'll pitch ideas when I did, but, you know, I was certainly making contingency plans. Like, I think I know where this thing's headed, and it's probably not going to be good for me in terms of having a job.
When like they put the money in the bank, you know, on Otis, and it was like, yeah, I mean, to me, that was probably a big shocker, because it's like you didn't really see a tag team guy getting like money in the bank, or like a main shot at a main singles title, or the main title when it's in a current tag team. Did they explain to you guys like, okay, this is what we're doing with Otis? Because like, was there a jealousy point for you at all? Like, on like I'm here as well. Like, what was your mindset when they sat down and told you guys that Otis was getting the Money in the Bank contract?
Okay, so I mean, I wouldn't say jealous, because, like I said, I genuinely love Otis. I mean, we really have a little brother, big brother relationship. I still talk to this man every week, and, you know, wrestling for WWE was more his dream than it was my dream. You know, when I came in, it was like, when I graduated from college, you know, I got the opportunity to try out and wrestle for WWE, but I was pretty prepared to just be an accountant. I have my accounting degree. Like, I was in discussions with businesses, and I was just going to go wear a suit every day and explain numbers. And I had accepted that as like, okay, I'm done being an athlete now. It's time for me to move on and get a big boy job, right? And then here comes WWE. Hey, do you want to not grow up yet? Yes, I definitely don't want to grow up yet. Like, let me keep being an athlete. That sounds amazing. I love it. So, you know, I guess that's kind of the like ground layer. Because COVID was happening, you know, I actually was not traveling at the time, and obviously that was a bit worrisome, but I was not the only person not traveling. You know, there was several people. Basically, whoever was traveling were the ones that were being used, and if you weren't being used, you weren't traveling at the time. You know, so sometimes a guy would come and then they wouldn't have anything the next week, and they'd leave them at whatever. So I didn't get a lot of discussions around the Money in the Bank personally, because for the majority of that time I was at home and I was not even being brought to television. You know, I wasn't there when they shot the Money in the Bank. I found out Otis won when he called me after the match was over with, and we had a conversation about it. You know, that's how I found out. Obviously, they taped it beforehand, right? Because of the way that they did it, sort of in a cinematic style. So, you know, he called me right after they shot it in Connecticut, and, you know, sort of told me about it. And it was like, whoa, you got the briefcase, dude? He's like, yeah, I won it. I'm like, whoa, that's crazy, dude. Like, what do you think's going to happen? You know, he's like, I have no idea, dude. They haven't told me, you know? And so we're just speculating back and forth. And, you know, of course, I mean, I know that obviously that means maybe things aren't going as well for me as they are for him. Right. And so kind of from that moment up until we split, you know, it was for me, like, of course I want Heavy Machinery to stay together, and I think, and he wants Heavy Machinery to stay together as well. But I also love my friend, and I want my friend to be as successful as he's capable of being in the thing that has been his dream since he was 5 years old. So like, I don't want to push so hard that, you know, I potentially deprive, you know, somebody who I genuinely love of an opportunity to, you know, reach the, you know, highest peak that they're capable of reaching or whatever. So, yeah, I mean, there was a lot of conflicting emotion, you know, kind of in there. And like I said, we have a great friendship. So it's not like we didn't discuss these things and have, you know, conversations about them. You know, I've been asked multiple times if there was any chance that he would cash in for the tag team championships or a tag team championship opportunity. I never heard anything about that. I suspect that was never on the table, just based on the way that the company sort of treats the tag team division. You You know, this is just, like I said, this is purely my opinion, but the Money in the Bank is like probably the second biggest gimmick that the company has. And it basically means that you're going to be the world champ, right? Unless something goes horribly wrong for you. So, and that main championship is at a much higher level than any other championship, right? I mean, it actually does mean like you're the guy, you're probably making the most money, whereas other championships don't always mean that same thing, right? Sometimes they're using them as tools to try to get people over or whatever they're trying to use them for to tell a specific story. So, I never thought that was going to, obviously I hoped, hey, maybe that'll happen. Maybe they'll just like, but it seemed to me that would only make sense if there was an audience for us to cash in to win the tag team championships together. Like it wouldn't really make too much sense to do that without the crowd there, I think, because you're just going to miss the big babyface pop. That's sort of like the reason for doing it in the first place. So I know it's kind of long-winded, but
no, not at all. Like, but in a way, like it was kind of like you see performers that go through there, and even tag teams, and certain performers who don't get championships, and it's because I've always believed that the championship kind of helps elevate the performer. Not the other, you know what I mean? Like, not the other. Like, sometimes the performer can elevate the championship if it needs to sort of be bumped back up to that sort of level. But I feel like you and Otis, when you guys were in NXT and coming up, you didn't need the tag team belts. Like, you guys, like your characters got over on your own, and you could see that, like, you've mentioned a couple of times the friendship and the brotherhood that you guys have, and that came across on the screen. Like it was like I would sit there and watch and go, these guys are my favorite on TV right now, because it's like you can genuinely see the friendships there. You can see that they're having fun, and that's what you're like. To me, that's what the gimmick was of Heavy Machinery, is two dudes just having a fucking ball.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a gimmick, right? It's a shoot. It's like it's us just being ourselves. Like you could be just as likely to see us doing that same stuff on Bourbon Street when we're in New Orleans, or in my backyard while we're barbecuing chicken, so yeah, I mean, it's disappointing because there's no doubt in my mind, and I think there's no doubt in a lot of fans' mind, that Heavy Machinery still had a lot more legs. I mean, I feel like we were still kind of in our really infancy stages of, I mean, I didn't even run comebacks as a part of our team, in the year and a half that we were on the main roster. I think I ran one comeback in that whole, right? So like, I mean, that's a whole nother big shift in the way we tell stories that we're capable of, that we were never given the opportunity, or I should say, like, the time that I did run a comeback, it was sort of like Vince saying, hey, I don't want Otis to take the heat. You take the fucking heat. Otis runs the comebacks. That's how we do the deal here for you guys. Got it? Yes, sir. Message received.
So Vince was very heavily involved in
I mean, he wasn't necessarily heavily involved, but that was definitely one of the things. Like, I remember it being a thing where it was like, we had for 5 or 6 months, Otis had ran the comebacks, I had taken the heat, and so we found an opportunity. I can't remember exactly what the match was, but like, okay, it might make sense for us to do it in this way, and they can cut him off like this, and then you can take the heat for a couple minutes, and then you can run the comeback. And I think it was because I needed to take a fall. I can't remember exactly what it was, but yeah, I just remember afterwards being like, he wanted to talk to us in Gorilla, and was just like, hey, I don't want him selling anymore. He's too big to sell. It doesn't make sense. Like, you have to do the selling, and he runs the comebacks.
But you're just as big. How does that make sense? Like, because you guys were, I mean, like, you're not a small guy.
I guess. I mean, who knows, really? I guess when it comes, I mean, at that point in time for us, it was sort of just like, well, if the boss is like pulling us over and telling us that this is what he wants, then, everybody there, like, to me, this is one of the biggest kind of issues in terms of storytelling in WWE, is that, like, it's a known thing that everyone's sort of working for Vince and not working for the audience to some extent. I mean, I'm not saying people don't try their hardest, and that there's, extremely talented people. And I don't envy the writers and their jobs, right? I would not want to do that job. That's a difficult job. So difficult because, like I said, I mean, ultimately everything has to be run through the man. And so even if you try your hardest to like capture the audience over time, as you work in that environment, I believe it's impossible for you not to have kind of the things that Vince is all about in the back of your mind as you're writing, as you're producing, and ultimately as you're wrestling. And so when the boss brings you over and tells you something, it's like, based on just the way that things operate around the place, everyone's sort of like, well, if Vince said it, you got to do it, and that's just like the way the environment works. And so, especially as a newer talent, when he pulls us over to tell us something, there's not really a discussion of, it's just like a yes, sir type of thing. And that's sort of,
we need you to do this.
That's what's expected of you, right?
Yeah. And, you mentioned that you were pitching like other ideas as well to creative. What sort of ideas were you pitching to them, and how was it received?
So, I mean, the one thing that I tried really hard to get for me and Otis happening was I wanted us to be the barbecue guys. I mean, I had aprons made up for us. Literally, I had a heavy machinery apron that my wife made for me that had our logo and the stakes and weights on it. And then I bought Otis a couple of bikini aprons, and and we had a conversation with Vince about it, and it was a good conversation. He seemed like he really liked the idea. It was right around the time when SmackDown moved to Fox. And, I think at the time I didn't know enough about the whole process in WWE to like, okay, the boss liked this idea, but now I need to make sure to like keep pressing on the right people as we move forward for the next few weeks to like, I was just like, oh, well, Vince liked it. And the time before that, when he liked an idea, it happened. So it'll probably happen this time. And, I think that was a great idea and would have been a very successful thing for us. I was basically just like, we'll come early to TV. We'll put a barbecue out where people have to walk by us, and you just film us interacting with people. Like, you can't convince me you're not going to get good, usable content out of, that kind of scenario. So that was something that, like I tried pretty hard for and pitched a couple different times that I thought was going to happen, but didn't. For myself, I was pitching like a golf character, kind of like a country club dick, nice. As an idea. I love golf genuinely.
Yeah.
And so I feel like I know kind of the lexicon, the jargon of golf, and would be able to throw that into promos fairly easily and just kind of use that general attitude. I also pitched an idea where I'm like a mansplainer, and I have like somebody who's my handler essentially, right? And like in my mind, I'm always just like, I'm living my life perfect. Everyone else has like these little areas that they need to improve on. I'm the person to help them improve. And so I'm always just walking around trying to be like, dude, you shouldn't be peeling your banana that way. You know what I mean? Like, you should peel it from the bottom, not the top. Monkeys peel their bottom from the banana, not from the bottom and not the top. Like, the strings are going to be all wrong. And my handler's like, hey bro, like, you have a match in 10 minutes. You need to focus up. And I'm like, well, I will in a minute, but I'm busy making sure this guy's not making stupid mistakes anymore.
I like it.
So, but at some point, I feel like if they want to use you, they'll find something to use you for. And if they don't, even if you pitch the world's greatest idea, they'll just give that idea to someone else.
Did you have that happen to you where they've taken your idea and given it to someone else?
Not personally, no. Just heard stories of it happening to other people.
Yeah. I mean, that's got to be disheartening if it does, like, was to happen. It's like, what, next minute you see him like using your idea, your pitch for someone completely different. But, as far as like, the backstage side of things, with WWE, we saw recently, Mickey James, who got released and got the garbage bag treatment. Was that, you've been with WWE since 2013. Is that something that you saw regularly of how they sort of treated former employees, like sending out garbage bags with their
well,
shit?
I mean, talent are not employees, right? We're never employees. We're independent contractors. So, that title comes with, I mean, we're not employees and are treated as such. And I don't mean that like talent are treated poorly or anything, but it's just that, we're like the items, we're the product. We come and go. We understand that's our role. It's like, hey, you're being contracted by this company to show up when they tell you to show up and do what you're told to do, and you're going to get paid X amount of dollars to do it. You know, especially as it pertains to third party stuff, it's pretty disappointing to see them be, you know, kind of so in both directions, right? Like, okay, well, we're gonna like be really tight about all this, you know, and hammer down on all these other, you know, things. People can't make money on Twitch, they can't make money on Cameo, they can't use their image and likeness in these other places because we own those images and likenesses. But at the same time, you know, talent have to pay for all their own hotel rooms and all their own food while they're on the road, and you know, all this kind of stuff. So I mean, it's in the contract, and it's not like something that's not kind of understood up front, right? But that's sort of the trade-off that you understand is like, well, I'm being classified as an independent contractor because it's what's good for them, but I'm not really an independent contractor because I don't have the same kind of freedoms that a typical, you know, IC gets. And so, I mean, I think it's that category that sort of dictates everything, right? And everything as it pertains to, you know, I don't want to say the way talent are treated because that's not really what I mean, but just the way that they're viewed as a part of the company, their place in the hierarchy and system of the company, right? Is like, I mean, just because of the categorization that you're not employee, you don't have a 401k, you know, you don't have health benefits, you don't have the same kinds of things that an employee gets. So we don't have the same kind of employee-employer relationship, right? We're not as connected to each other. As soon as we don't want to use you anymore, then it's much easier for us to just sever it there, and that's it. Now you're like, we've had our time together, and now we're not having our time together anymore. And, you know, like I said, I don't think that's wrong necessarily, but I do think people really need to understand, like, I didn't understand fully that that's what I'm getting myself into, right? And that, like, you need to protect yourself up front, right? Like, I wish I would have hired an agent before I signed my first WWE contract, because I just didn't realize kind of how I mean, I went to business school, so I felt like, hey, I could probably handle this, but ultimately I'm kind of in over my head because I don't really understand, you know, all of the big picture and where my place is and where maybe the wiggle room is, right? In the same way that somebody who's kind of navigated those waters for, you know, a decade or more would understand kind of the small and subtle differences.
Yeah, 100%. And I think as well, like, you know, probably a lot of guys and girls were in that same boat where it's like, you know, WWE comes knocking, you know, whether you're a performer that's worked in the indies for the last 15 years or, you know, straight out of college with a collegiate background, someone backs the money truck up to your house and is like, hey, just I'll change your life. Just sign here. Let's go.
And they're, you know, I mean, what do they do, right? When you think about what's their business in general is marketing, right? I mean, they market a wrestling product, but like, and so their ability to kind of propagandize things and understand how to press on the right buttons is, you know, 50 years worth of dealing with talent and going from, you know, WWF with Vince Sr. up to, you know, one of the largest, not just wrestling, but entertainment companies. I mean, nobody does what they do, you know, tearing down and setting up the production value that they have 2 times a week, 52 times a year, all around the world. There's no other company that does that. And that's really their differentiating factor, right? Is their ability to kind of do those things. And so, you know, that's it. I guess it just manifests itself in different ways, right?
Oh, 100%. And, you know, you mentioned when they came in with blocking the third party, you know, affiliate programs for superstars to use. What was the general consensus and feeling when that happened? Because, you know, as a performer, whether you're a professional athlete in football, rugby, professional wrestling, MMA, an athlete's lifespan is very short. You know what I mean? Like a career span can be very, very short. So to sort of halter people from earning the most income possible, you know, I can't imagine too many guys were happy with it backstage when that rule came in.
No, of course not. You know, it's like the proverbial, you're stuck between a rock and a hard place, right? Because I mean, you're under contract, so really, what recourse do you have? You know, the company comes down hard and says, "This is what we're doing." Like, you may have some level of legal recourse if you wanted to try to take that route, right? But obviously, you know that that's going to come with consequences of its own, right? Whether those consequences are said or not, you know, if you try to take legal action against the company that's booking you, like, it's probably not going to be good for you, you know? So not that that's like a great avenue. It's not what I'm advocating for, but I'm just saying kind of like, you know, like I said, you're stuck between sort of a rock and a hard place. Because even if you're upset about it and you like I said, where is your recourse at? Like, how do you actually do anything other than just saying, well, I can't accept this anymore and I want you to release me and I want to do something else. But then, you know, that's obviously taking a gigantic risk because WWE does have the platform that they have. And so you have to recognize that, right, there's that trade-off there. And like they do have the power to do that. And as upsetting as it is, you know, and disappointing really, because it's like, they didn't have to do it. You know, you look at their balance sheet heading into COVID and it's like, well, you know, you guys have $500 million, $500 million in cash or debt-free assets on your balance sheet. Like, you're a very healthy company. You know, you don't have to let all these people go at the beginning of the pandemic. You don't have to restrict all this third-party stuff in order to turn a profit. Like, you're turning quite a profit as it is. But if you do want to protect your pre-COVID level profits, then these are the actions that you have to take, right? And I mean, they're a large multinational corporation. They have shareholders and a board of directors to answer to. And, you know, that informs all of the decisions that they make, right? So at least for me, I try not to take those things personally, right? I try to just look at them in the business sense and see if there's any maybe wiggle room for me, or if I'm going to try to make potentially an argument about why I should be allowed to do something, then try to think about, you know, how could I make that argument, right? How could I have that discussion with talent relations and see if, I mean, because it's obviously possible, right? Xavier Woods, he's making a lot of money on up, down, down, but at the same time, like, he started that and now, you know, the company, it's theirs, and, you know, he has help and people that run it for him, and he's still the main face of it. So it's kind of all about those trade-offs, right? And just kind of understanding, you know, just understanding that kind of, I guess, the environment, if you will.
Oh, 100%. And, you know, I think as well, like, you know, it's like kind of like a double-edged sword where you look at it, it's like you can either sort of complain and say, no, I don't want to agree to this. Okay, bye. And then, you know, you're going to walk out on something which is, you know, a significant paycheck from a large company.
Yeah, that, and also, you know, the ability to, you know, just be on television, right? And the potential opportunities that come with that, you know, during or after, right? And I mean, and that's kind of the piece of it, is like the company wants to set up these third-party stuff. And I mean, you know, like I said, they're a PG corporation that has tons of corporate partnerships to protect. And so it only makes sense that they want to be in control of essentially every little piece of content that comes out of their company, because, you know, any piece of content has the potential to damage those revenue streams.
Oh, 100%. And, you know, as far as like the releases go from WWE, do you think that some of those releases were political releases in the sense like there was political reasons why some people were released?
I mean, it's certainly possible, right? You never really know what those kind of conversations are being had and the reasons. You know, I think, you know, certainly, yes. Like, if you're potentially hurting the image of the company by the things you say on social media or otherwise, like, you know, that could have consequences for you. And like I said, I mean, the company, they're all about image, and that's like what they, you know, what they're about to protect, and that's the thing that they do. So, Legend, stop it. Hey, come here. Come here. Stop it. You know, it's Mom. Go say hi. Go say hi. Sorry about that.
No, not at all. Yeah, I mean, it definitely does come down to, I think, you know, each individual case. But, you know, when I saw some of the releases, I was like,
Well, I mean, and I think before that, you know, and this is, again, just my opinion on the situation, that, you know, before AEW became AEW, right, while they're kind of in their infancy stages, and, you know, okay, well, hey, this other person who owns sports teams and is a billionaire is going to get into the wrestling business. And, you know, no matter what the company says, you got to take that seriously, right? You got to take that seriously.
100%.
So, you know, I don't think it's some big secret that they were kind of signing as much talent as they possibly could in the year leading up to AEW. And, you know, then for AEW's essentially first year, keeping that talent on the payroll so that they can't go anywhere else. You know, that, like I said, this is just my speculation on the matter. I haven't had any conversations with people about this in terms of like knowing that this is the reason. But, you know, I suspect that, you know, they were doing that in order to try to starve the market a little bit. And then particularly once COVID happens and there's not a place for a bunch of these people to land on their feet right away, it's like, okay, well, now if we let them go, like they're not going to be able to hurt us as immediately as they would have been able to hurt us a year ago, potentially, in terms of, you know, becoming a star somewhere else. And I mean, like I said, that's just my opinion on the matter. And kind of as I've looked at how and why they do the things they do, that's sort of the conclusion that I've come to in my own head, because it's kind of the only thing that makes sense to me as a reason, you know, big picture reason. And yeah, so I mean, I think like they're always trying to control the narrative, right? They're always trying to control the narrative for every person, for everything that exists in the company. Like there's a rhyme and a reason to, you know, how they do it and when they do it. And so, yeah, I mean, it's certainly not outside of the realm to say, well, some of these releases weren't, you know, purely based on talent's ability in the ring or outside of the ring. It was based on some other thing, you know, yeah, political or personal.
Yeah, 100%. And, you know, when you did get your release, was that something that you personally saw coming?
I mean, yeah, I didn't, you know, I was pretty sure it was going to happen right after, like I said, I hit my partner in the head with a briefcase and we don't have a fucking wrestling match afterwards. Like I watch enough to know it's probably not good news for me, you know, like I'm going to try, I'm going to keep, and I did. I mean, I told you about, you know, a couple pitches that I pitched, and obviously I was in 24/7 segments a little bit here and there, and, you know, it wasn't completely gone. But yeah, I mean, it wasn't surprising, I guess you should say. I wasn't like, oh, I know I'm getting fired for sure, guaranteed, no doubt about it. But it's like, well, you know, if you're not traveling all the time and you're not on TV every week, then, you know, the potential is obviously there.
Oh, 100%. And I kind of want to lighten the mood a little bit, because I kind of feel like we've sort of gone really deep and sort of gone into a fair few things. But, you know, sort of rewinding the clock a little bit, like when you got an opportunity to join WWE NXT, like, you know, like how did that opportunity come to you? Because you weren't necessarily in indie work like before you got signed.
No, yeah. So I guess I'll back up to the beginning of my kind of college wrestling. So I went to 3 different schools, my freshman year and my sophomore year in school. Both of the schools I went to cut their wrestling programs that year. So 2008, I went to Portland State as a freshman. They dropped their wrestling program after my freshman year. I drive to Bakersfield, California, like probably 15, 16-hour drive from where I live. I go to school there for 1 year. I wrestle. At the end of that season, they drop their wrestling program. This is kind of budgetary, right? It's 2008, 2009. The United States is having some budgetary issues, you know, fiscally for states and different things. And so they're trying to find ways to cut their budget. And that's one of the ways. So then I end up driving to Arizona. I've literally, the person I'm staying with, I've met him 2 times. Otherwise, I know nobody in Arizona, right? I just packed all my stuff into my car. Like, I want to be an amateur wrestler. This is the place. Like, I talked to the coach one time. They're like, well, we have one other heavyweight you can come and try out, type of deal, right? I'm like, all right, let's do it. And, you know, I walked on there, became an All-American. I wrestled at the NCAA National Tournament 3 times, was 7-6 over a 3-year period, was in the top 10 in, you know, at a heavyweight division in America for 3 years in a row. Wow. And I think, you know, that combined with kind of the way that I carried myself, struck the interest of one Mr. Gerald Briscoe. And he was working as at the time as a talent scout for WWE, and essentially was just kind of working the amateur wrestling scene, college and Olympic ladder. And so he came to talk to me in January of 2013 at the Las Vegas Invitational. And was just like, gave me his information. I gave him mine, hey, I know you're still finishing up with school. When you're done, give me a call, and we'll see what we can do. So I graduated at the end of May in 2013, and I actually had the last tryout in Tampa in June of 2013, right before they moved to Orlando in July of that same year. And about a month after I had my tryout, it was actually on my 23rd birthday, July 24th.
Hey.
Get a call from Canyon Seaman. Hey, we've decided we want to hire you, and we're going to start to go through the hiring process. So at this point in time, the only wrestling ring that I've ever stepped into is at my tryout. That's it. I haven't, had any matches really. Just came straight out of college, and it took 4 or 5 months for the hiring process. I started in January of 2014 at the Performance Center, and it was wild, man. Definitely culture shock for sure. Coming from amateur wrestling into pro wrestling, they're called the same thing, but that's about as close as they get to being the same.
100%, yeah.
Yeah, I remember distinctly the kind of jargon or lexicon of professional wrestling being a barrier early on that I had not suspected. I did some research and I kind of knew what to expect to some extent, but I just remember, people talking about gimmicks and heat and shine and cut off and being like, woo, hey,
the language.
You guys to explain what you're talking about there. I don't know what exactly you're saying. So, which is funny now, but so, that was sort of how I got my start there. I know that's kind of a different way than the majority of the guys come into the Performance Center.
But that's the beauty of it, though. They bring people in from different backgrounds, and it's, like I saw an interview with Triple H, and they said, what do you look for in a performer? Is that they've got to be an amazing wrestler. And he was like, no, they don't even need to know how to wrestle. We can teach them that shit. It's like if they have something that we see, like whether it be a look, a presence, a social media presence, know how to market them, like all these different factors that go into why someone would get hired.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I mean, it's, the wrestling is especially on the main roster, is just a very kind of small part of what it takes, right? Of what it takes to be successful at that level. And I mean, obviously, I'm not the person to tell you all the things you need to do to be successful at that level, because I wasn't super successful there. I definitely know some of the mistakes that I, obviously made, and kind of, the point I think you're getting at is the laundry list of skills required to be a superstar at that level, is, man, it's a long list of things that you got to be able to do. I mean, you're a professional traveler first and foremost. So you got to be, you're doing that every week. So that comes with its own, right, understanding how to work the airport, and then, are you going to make your own meals and bring them on the road? Or if you're not, then where are you going to get your food at? And how much time is that going to take? Where are you going to go to the gym to work out? Like all of these kind of things, are just a small piece of it. And then, kind of the conversations backstage, right? How you can, market yourself to the people who are ultimately making decisions. How are you going to try to get your ideas to the forefront, right? And how do you kind of work in that environment? Somebody say, we want you to say this. You say, okay, well, can I do it like this, right? Because you can't just say, no, I don't want to do that, right? That's not a good look. You got to have alternate ideas. And man, I mean, just the and then there's the TV production side of working on television too, right? Camera angles and working to the hard cam and understanding how to find which camera where the best shots are going to be for a certain move, all that kind of stuff. And then the promos, and one of the things when you're doing a promo with other people is you got to stand shoulder to shoulder. You don't want there to be this kind of space in between you. It looks weird on camera, but in real life, when you're standing that close to someone, it feels very awkward, and so, I mean, and I learned a bunch about acting that I probably never would have learned as a, professional wrestler. And so, I mean, just kind of I count myself as very fortunate, even though maybe I didn't have the top end success that I was looking for. I learned so many, so many skills and things that I'll be able to, use in whatever avenue I do going forward, be it wrestling or otherwise.
Oh, 100%. And, as far as, with wrestling, a- as far as like as a fan, were you into wrestling prior to having conversations with Gerald Briscoe? Like, was it something that you watched as a kid that you had an interest in?
Yeah, definitely. I was born in 1990, so I'm an Attitude Era kid, right? I was 8, 9 years old when the Monday Night Wars were going on, and yeah, me and all my friends, we all watched it. Then probably around the age of 14 or so, when I really decided that I wanted to play college sports, and at first it was football, but I took football and wrestling both very seriously.
Yeah.
To the point where like I stopped riding four-wheelers, I stopped skiing, I stopped doing anything, I stopped wakeboarding, I stopped doing anything that I could get hurt. And like I said, at about 14, I knew I want to be a Division I college athlete. And
Yeah.
like a lot of my mental focus and energy in and out of school went towards that. And so I wasn't watching as much wrestling. I actually went to Money in the Bank. I want to say it was 2012 when Dolph Ziggler won. It was in Arizona. I was going to ASU at the time. And so a buddy of mine had gotten some tickets to that. And so we went and watched that. And we went to a couple indie shows at the time. And, it was always something that like I had kind of considered in the back of my mind, but I didn't know, if it was something that was going to be like accessible to me. Right. And like I said, especially my last year of amateur wrestling wasn't the most positive season that I'd had. Personally, it was fine, but kind of the environment around the team, it doesn't really matter. But like,
Yeah.
I was sort of ready. Like I had accepted being done as an athlete at that point, kind of like, okay, I can go, I'll find other avenues to get this stuff out, and I'll, just go and try my hand at the business world and see if I can't, elevate myself and make it up, in that world.
And I think as far as like now where you're at, is wrestling something that you see yourself having a long-term future in? Because you're still a young guy, you're only 30 years old.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to continue to wrestle for sure. I feel not positive, but I feel pretty good that Otis and I will have the opportunity to work together again at some point in the future. Before that, personally, it's very important, and sort of my goal, or the thing that I'm going to be focused on as it pertains to wrestling, is figuring out sort of exactly who I am authentically in the ring. It became apparent to me that outside of heavy machinery, I had never really been on television and really hadn't done a lot of even, live event wrestling, maybe only a year's worth of live event wrestling outside of before I was a member of heavy machinery. So, my character as a part of heavy machinery that I was trying to be was essentially like best big brother, best big friend, best big brother, best friend. Like that was sort of, okay, this is kind of where I'm going to tailor all of my thought process. And so now moving forward individually, trying to kind of consider how I'm gonna, what do I want to be? How do I want to be? And for me, that the foundation of that has to be amateur wrestling, not just physically, but also mentality wise, and kind of, the gifts that being a high level amateur wrestler gave me, and sort of the lessons that I learned doing that, and how I've applied those to my life going forward, and how that's sort of been where the majority of the success that I found in my life has been, applying those lessons that I learned as an amateur wrestler. So I know I need to kind of peel back the facade of myself and sort of be very true to that piece of it. And then kind of the next layer that I'm considering working on, or not considering, but that I am working on, is so I guess force of nature, sort of exploring the dichotomy between the like extreme calm, peace, beauty, and serenity that nature presents itself in as most of the time. But then when is required, there's this switch that moves into, power and force and violence. and that, really the in-between area you don't want to exist in. When it's time to be calm and serene, like you want to exist all the way in the calm and serene, at least I do. And then as soon as I step through the ropes and it's time for me to be that other guy and bring that intensity, then it's time to bring noise. And not that I don't want to have a good time or have fun in the ring, but I think that's who I need to be, at least at the beginning, so that I can, like I said, figure out kind of who Levi Cooper authentically is and what bits of me most resonate with other people as I present them.
And, as it looks right now, do you have yourself any goals that you want to accomplish in the wrestling business? Like when because not always, like, losing your job, getting released, it sucks. It's never a good thing, but sometimes it can be a silver lining. And
Totally.
I think that, from the conversation that we've had here, and please correct me if I'm wrong, Levi, I don't want to speak for you, but it sounds like there was periods of frustration there that were really growing on you there in WWE at points. And I think that now it's probably a silver lining where there might be opportunities for you elsewhere to really develop and find who you are as a performer.
Yes, that's certainly the case. I think as I kind of have, taken the time to step back and really think about, everything, like, okay, well, I got to spend 7+ years around some of the most talented, performers, coaches, producers, writers that exist in the business. And, the lessons that I've learned and things that, the things and skills that I've acquired during that time, I was pretty under control, right? I mean, really, I signed a contract out of college, and then, I was under contract for 7.5 years. And with that comes a certain handcuffing, if you will, right? I mean, there's a lot of positives, but there's also, you're not in as direct of control as you would like to be in some situations, especially creatively, right? I mean, it's tough to not have kind of agency or feel like you're not having full agency over who you are and how you're sort of presented, right? So, I mean, to have the opportunity, and as you kind of talk about goals, my main goal is for me to become the best performer that I'm capable of becoming, not compared to anybody else, but like I said, that I'm really in the quest of figuring out who Levi Cooper, or what authentically about Levi Cooper connects with other people, which pieces of those are the main pieces that I'm able to connect with others. Because I don't want to just, we haven't really talked about it a lot in this interview, but self-care has been a topic that, I've really been focusing on in the last year, essentially. And is something that, I continue to do research about, I continue to learn about as I apply it to my own life, and figuring out how I can, build 60 to 90 minute routines for myself, so that after those 60 or 90 minutes, I feel like, I've taken care of not just my physical body, but also my mental and my spiritual body in a way that, I'm able to have a good and productive day going forward. And I don't have to continue to think about, like, man, I wish that I would have been able to get this thing in for myself, and especially having kids. My wife and I, we wake up almost every morning at 5:45 and do, 30 minutes of yoga together. And that's sort of our like centering presence that happens. And so the reason why I'm so interested in figuring out that authentically about myself is because I feel like I'm somewhat articulate, and that as I discuss these topics, I think I have some positive things to give to the world. And I'm really excited and hopeful that I'm able to, do that and find a way. That's part of what I've been trying to do on Twitch. And as I continue to move forward, pushing out positive messages, doing DDPY, and have considered maybe doing their certification program. And so, I want professional wrestling to be just a piece of, of the positive things that I'm bringing to myself and to the world. I think for a long time in my life, not just amateur wrestling or pro wrestling, but wrestler was a really large piece of my identity. Definitely it was more than half of my identity. And I would say for a large, but especially before I had kids, it was close to 100% of my identity, right? And not that that's a bad thing, but that can come with some difficult things, self-esteem wise. And I recognize those in my own self, is that, that journey and the highs and lows, especially if you're attaching your ego to the outcomes, it's not a good thing to do. That's going to be a real roller coaster of a journey emotionally, so I've worked hard to attach my ego to the process, to the journey, pat yourself on the back when you do something to take care of yourself. People don't need to work on negative self-talk, right? We're all good enough at beating ourselves up in our own heads. Like, I don't think anybody needs to practice that. We do need to practice positive self-talk, in my opinion. And, like I said, just, it's a cliche, but, for me, and the thing I'm really working on going forward, and what I want to give to people, is the understanding of, like, you have to fill your cup up a little bit before you can pour that out into other people's cups. And if 100%. You can build a routine in your daily life where you're filling your cup up more than you have to pour it out every morning, then that's going to lead you to be a much more positive, much more productive human being, right? Like, time spent working doesn't equate to productivity. So, those are kind of, that's sort of what I'm looking for, to use my kind of professional wrestling platform to do going forward, and something that I'm pretty passionate about.
And self-care is so important, especially in the pro wrestling business. And it's not, as you said, it's not just always the physical stuff that you go through, but also the mental abuse. Like you think lack of sleep, which is a form of torture in some countries, being away from family and loved ones, obviously, with COVID, it's been a little bit of a different story, but the life of a pro wrestler is definitely a lonely one at times. And, you've seen over the years with, some of the greats that have sort of gone down some really tragic roads. I think it's very mature and probably, thinking future down the line. By doing this stuff now, you can save yourself from mental anguish later on down the track. Meditation is a big thing, and some people still make fun of meditation to this day, but it's proven meditation can help relax and also center people's minds. Like, dude, I'm the same as you. I wake up every morning, the first thing I do is, like, I wake up half an hour early before I need to, and I meditate before I go to bed. Half an hour,
especially with kids, bro. If you wake up on your kid's schedule and you're just reacting to your kids for the first 2 hours of the day, all of a sudden you're like, damn, 2 hours have gone by and I have no idea what I want to do today. Like, it's just, it's maybe not that way for everyone, but like,
no, I'm
just like, I think the meditation piece is like, I think it gets a bad rap, especially in this country. Well, we was hyper masculine in this country anyways, right? So it's like, to be a man, you gotta be this, like, you can't have emotions or whatever, it's like, no, I think I'm a better man because I can look my daughter in the eye and tell her that I love her, and that might bring a tear to my eye because that's how much I do love her, and I can let her know that with words. Like, I feel like that makes me a better man, not a worse man, but not everyone has that same attitude about that, and not that, hey, do what you got to do, right? But to me, the meditation piece is most important, so that you start to see what your inner dialogue is, just like you start to see what's causing you stress, right? What are the things that are like consistently on your mind, and if some thought or something keeps coming up in your brain over and over and over again when you're trying to meditate, like, hey, that's something you need to deal with, pal, like.
But you know what? The thing is, if you're allowing something to come into your mind while you're meditating, that's your ego. You're not letting go. And that's the thing. In meditation, you have to be able to let go, where you have to let your mind go completely blank and just enjoy that moment of presence. Listen to the surrounding shit around you, but like, let it come in one ear, out the other, and just be present in that moment.
Right. And just, you're kind of you're observing your ego as you get better at it, essentially, right? You're observing the truths or lies that you tell yourself about yourself and your place in the world, essentially, right? That's kind of like, I'm a big Stoicism fan. Marcus Aurelius, he talks about living in accordance with nature over and over and over again, right? And how, like, you have to figure out what that living in accordance with nature looks like for you. And if you're trying to figure it out as it pertains to some other person, it ain't gonna work. And like, you can live your life fighting against the stream all the time, but that's what you're gonna be doing, is fighting against the stream. And like, it's going to manifest itself in, difficult things. I mean, perception to me is one of the things that, especially in our current society, it's critical, right? Because the amount of information that you're inundated with on a daily basis, like your ability to perceive what's true and what's not and sort of wade through the bullshit is, to me, that's becoming more and more and more critical as a skill, just to be an informed citizen in whatever society you live in, because of the way that all that kind of information hits you. And so, to have the ability or to have the presence of mind to spend a little bit of time every day kind of working on that perception, right? And understanding it more deeply for yourself, to me is critical to being a happy person.
Oh, 100%. I mean, I try and encourage my kid. Like, my kids are 5'3", and I got a 9-week-old or 10-week-old. So the 10-week-old he doesn't meditate, but I try and get the 5-year-old and 3-year-old just to have a couple of minutes of silence here and there throughout their day, just to, just take in what's around and just chill.
I mean, you don't ever have to be bored if you don't want to be bored anymore. You never have to quiet your mind ever if you don't want to, like, ever, right? You could just be getting dopamine fixes all day, every day. Yes, exactly, right? I mean, like, it ain't hard, it's like, it's all around us. And not that those, I love those things. I enjoy them to the maximum, but and I guess really my main point is sort of that life is about balance, right? And as I talked about my ego and how much my ego was attached, or just identity was attached to wrestler, I've worked really hard to move a lot of that, self-esteem, ego pieces to my ability to be a father and my ability to be a husband, right? And like, I want part of my identity to be coach, and part of my identity to be mentor, and part of my identity to be mentee. And so, for me, like, wrestling professional and amateur wrestling will now always be a part of my life. I've spent too much time, doing those things and just being a part of it, that there's no way that it can't be, a part of what I do going forward. But for me, it's really important that that's what it is a part of what I'm doing going forward.
Yeah, and I think it's also important to acknowledge that, that you're more than just one particular thing. Like, you're not just a wrestler, you're a father, you're a husband, you're a friend, you're a son, there's all these different things which make not just yourself, but all of us ourselves and all of us unique. You know what I mean? Like, putting all the stock into one thing, then that thing becomes your everything. That thing becomes your life. That thing just becomes... Fuck, here's Piers. He's going to talk about that same thing again.
It's unhealthy, right? It becomes very unhealthy, Yeah, it is
almost like
psychologically unhealthy.
Oh, 100%. But guys, it is that time of the show. It is Guess the Aussie Slang, Guess the Aussie phrases. So we have told Levi about this. We have given him prior warning. Levi, have you ever been to Australia?
Unfortunately, I have not been to Australia. Nope. We were supposed to go, and then we got taken off the NXT Australia loop last minute on the one time we were supposed to go on it.
Oh, dude. Well,
disappointingly.
I'm sure with your time in NXT and WWE, you'd spend some time with some of the Australian talent they've got over there. But
big fan of the Iconics. Big fan of Billy and Cassie. Very funny, amazing. Great personalities.
Very typically Australian as well. Like,
yes.
They are the typical Billy Australian.
Kay, in my opinion, she's like, when she wants to be stereotypical Aussie, I think she's about as good as it gets, Jess, at being a stereotypical Aussie.
But you know what? Like, I've seen her do stuff on camera where it's like little things where it's like, if you're an Australian, you'd sit there and go, oh, that's a Kath and Kim reference, or that's you know what I mean? Like, you just the little things like that, not ripping off a show, but like just the little references like that. Little things. I'm like, I saw what you did there.
Some influence.
But, exactly. So this is how it's going to go out. I'm going to give you a slang word. I'm going to put it in a sentence for you as well, and we're going to see how you go. So the first one we're going to go. All right, you ready?
Let's do it.
Hey, mate, you want to crank up the Akadaka? Akadaka.
Air conditioner.
No, so it's Akadaka is how Aussies refer to the Australian band AC/DC. So, and it's also a famous story. AC/DC got their name. AC/DC got their name because the Angus Young's little sister pointed at the Black & Decker vacuum cleaner and said Akadaka, and they went, "What a name for a band!" So
amazing. I did not know that. That's so cool.
That's it. All right, so we go another one as well. Bloody oath. Bloody oath, mate. You all right?
So bloody oath.
Bloody oath. Bloody oath. You right, mate? Bloody
like
oath.
Somebody took a big spill. Somebody took a big fall.
No, bloody oath means it's true. Like bloody oath, it's true. Yeah,
okay.
Hell yeah. All right, so this one is bludger. My cousin Frankie is a dead set fucking bludger.
Like a moron, somebody who's not smart.
Yeah, more like someone who's lazy, generally who relies on others. You know what I mean? Like, just like, say for example, I ring up and go, "Hey, like Levi, man." Look,
in America.
Well, it'd be like if I rang you up and go, "Hey, Levi, man, yeah, come pick me up on the way to the gym, but grab me a bottle of water, protein shake, and maybe some of that pre-workout, bro. That'd be great." Yeah. All right, so here's another one. This is cactus. Well, fuck me, look at that. It's cactus.
Boy, I don't know. It looks it's sharp.
No, it means it's dead or it's broken.
Okay.
So So all right, here's another one. This is schmick. Geez, mate, you're looking schmick.
You're looking good. You're looking fine.
Yeah, that's it. You're looking dapper. There you go. All right, here's another one. Hey, Levi, would you like a durry?
Oh man, a drink?
No, it means a cigarette.
Okay.
All right, so this is a little bit of a phrase. This one is crack the shits. My missus woke up this morning and she fucking cracked the shit, something nasty, mate. I'll tell you what, she really cracked the shits.
Boy, I mean, obviously, it seems like it would be that she blew up the toilet, but since it's a slang, I'll say I'll say this one's falling down. She fell down and hit something hard.
No, cracking the shits means she got really angry. She was probably angry at me or something else. But yeah, she cracked the shits.
Yelling, irate.
Yeah, yelling, irate. So, all right. So here's another one as well. Budgie smuggler. Oh fuck! Me dad's just come over and he's at me swimming pool. He's wearing his budgie smuggler again.
It's got to be a Speedo.
That's it. That, you know what, you were the first person to ever get that. The reason why they call it a budgie smuggler is because once you get out of the water, it looks like you. It doesn't matter. You get where I'm coming from anyway.
Oh man,
we got a couple more for you as well. So, yes. All right. Now this one's going to be kind of like there's going to be a few ones in here. Okay, so there's going to be Franger, Old Fella, Sheila, Root. All right, so there's 4. Okay, so I'm going to put this in a sentence. Hey, mates, you got a spare Franger for me, Old Fella. I just picked up a Sheila, and I think she wants the Root.
Oh man, what's the first one again? What's the word?
Franger.
I'm going to guess that's a condom.
Yep, Old Fella.
Your weenie for your old man.
Yeah. Sheila.
Can you say the sentence one more time?
Hey, mate, have you got a Franger for me, Old Fella? I just picked up this Sheila, and I'm pretty sure she wants to go for a Root.
That's a girl or a bird.
Yeah. And what's the last word? Root.
Have a bang.
That's it. There you go. You got the whole thing on that one. That was a pretty much a self-explanatory one, but we'll go a couple more. Okay. Oh, Jesus, mate. Have a look at that bird on the dance floor. She's off her tits.
She's drunk?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Drunk, wasted, white girl.
She's having a good time. She looks like the life of the party.
Yeah, that's it, man. All right, so this will be the last one, and this is going to be a few as well. Okay, so all right, so it's going to be Servo,
Okay.
Bottle-O, and Macca's. All right, so hey Levi, before you come over to my house, right, I need you to swing past the Servo. All right, pick up a couple of bags of ice. Then I need you to swing past the Bottle-O, pick up a couple of slabs, and then swing past Macca's and grab a feed. So
All right.
Servo,
So
Bottle-O,
the first
Macca's.
one I'm guessing is like a convenience store, grocery store.
It's a petrol station, but I'll give you the convenience store. So I'll give you half a point for that one.
Okay.
Bottle-O,
Yeah, beers.
yeah. So bottle shop, yeah.
Yeah.
And the last one is
so it's okay.
Sorry, yeah. So a Bottle-O is like a liquor store.
Liquor
And the
store,
the last one in there is Macca's.
Macca's. Well, you said to get a feed, so is that like a fast food restaurant or something, or is it like I mean, it's a place you get food, I'm assuming.
Yeah. It originated in America. We nicknamed it
McDonald's.
Macca's. There you go.
Okay.
So I think when you come to Australia, man, you'd be right on par. I think you'd fit in well.
Yes, it looks like a great place. I remember a couple of the TM61 guys, Shane, he had his dad come one time, and me and Riddick Moss, we went and played golf, and we had his dad come and play golf with us. And man, it was a pretty hilarious round of golf, because obviously, he had his Aussie sayings for when he hit the ball good or hit the ball not so good. And yeah, it was a pretty hilarious time. So I hope I do get the opportunity, because Australia seems like a pretty fun place.
Well, I tell you what, man, if you come to Australia and Sydney, I'll take you to a few places, man. I'll teach you how to drink a beer Australian style, and how to cook a barbecue Australian style as well. But man, look, we've been going for nearly an hour and 20 minutes, man, and I feel like I could sit here and talk with you for another 2 hours easily. I'd love to have you on again sometime, man. Maybe we can do a part 2 somewhere down the line.
Yeah, no doubt, man. That'd be awesome. It's been great, man. I really enjoyed this.
But before we wrap up, man, I just wanted to give you an opportunity. You did mention that you are being on Twitch now, so where people can interact with you. What's your Twitch channel? Where can people find you? And how often are you going live?
Yeah, so I'm Levi Cooper Live on Twitch. I've been going probably 4 times a week or so. I think I've done like 20 live streams, so I'm still kind of just getting a feel for all of it, especially the kind of technical side, right? The computer literacy side has been an area with which I've had to do some work and research. It's been neglected over my time as a wrestler a little bit. So, I'm getting better, and I feel like I'm improving on getting those kind of aspects of it. And so far I've just been playing video games, but I'm going to start doing a couple yoga sessions a week on there. I want to start doing some community cooking, where I've just started a Discord, and I'm going to pair that up with the Twitch. And I want to do, put some ingredients lists and recipes up on the Discord a couple days before, and then go live. And if you want to, then we can kind of all cook together at a certain time. So that's something to be on the lookout for. But yeah, I mean, I've been loving Twitch. It's a great way to interact with people. And, so if you've enjoyed this and you want to interact with me some more, you can follow me at Levi Cooper Live on Twitch. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter, Real Levi Cooper. And if you're a promoter and you're watching this and you want to book me for some signings or some shows, this is on my Twitter and Instagram bio, but it's book Levi Cooper at mail.com. So you can get in touch with me there, shoot me an email. And yeah, man, I'm looking forward to, all the opportunities that are going to be out there, especially as the world's opening back up, and
yeah, man.
Things kind of start getting back to normal, if you will, a little bit. It's exciting times.
Hell yeah, man. And as I said, I'd love to get you on for a part 2, man. I feel like like I said, we can talk for another couple of hours, but thank you so much for giving up your time. I really appreciate talking with you, man. I've had an absolute blast. Guys, also thank you for everyone who tuned in live. Also, everyone who checked it out after the fact on YouTube or Twitch, and also on all of the podcast platforms. Guys, we appreciate you every single week tuning into my show and also the other shows we got here, like Killing the Business with former ECW original, the Kingpin Angel Medina, and also Get Funked with former WCW star Kwee Alan Funk, and also Knights of the Gimmick Table with the Dead Presidents, and my show, Shooting the Shit Uncensored. We appreciate you all for tuning in, and thank you to our sponsors, The Wrestling Universe, Sleeves.com, and also Healthape.com. But until next time, guys, go follow Levi Cooper on Twitch, Instagram, and YouTube. Make sure you hit follow, subscribe on ours as well. And until next time, guys, we'll see you soon. Peace.